Take a look at the house on the corner of your block. It looks perfect, doesn't it? The lawn is a deep, manicured emerald. The white picket fence has a fresh coat of paint that glistens in the afternoon sun. Even the curtains are a tasteful, neutral cream. It is the very definition of the American dream. But have you ever noticed something off? Have you ever seen a light flicker on at 3 a.m. for a glass of water? Have you ever heard the muffled bark of a dog, or the rhythmic thud of a teenager playing basketball in the driveway? Have you ever seen a single bag of groceries carried through that front door? The answer is no. Because this house doesn't have a kitchen. It doesn't have a bedroom. It doesn't even have a soul. You've been living next to a 4-story lie. While you sleep, this house is breathing. It's humming. It's exhaling a faint, metallic heat right under your feet. It's a hollow shell, a beautiful mask stretched over a face of cold steel and concrete. Why is the government spending millions of your tax dollars to maintain a ghost that never eats, never sleeps, and never leaves? What is so dangerous, or so vital, that it needs to be hidden behind a coat of suburban paint? Today, we go behind the floral wallpaper. We're stepping into the void of the houses that never sleep. Are you sure you know who, or what, is living next door? In the world of urban planning, there is a term that most people never hear: decoy infrastructure. We like to think of our cities as logical. We have residential zones for living and industrial zones for machines. We keep the noise, the grease, and the high-voltage hum away from our bedrooms. That is the social contract we sign when we move into a quiet neighborhood. But the system has a problem. As our cities grow denser, the machines need to be closer to us. They need to be right in the middle of the block. But nobody wants to live next to a 110 kilovolt transformer. Nobody wants a massive subway exhaust vent in their backyard. So, the engineers and the architects made a choice. They decided to lie to you. They began building transformer houses. From Brooklyn to DC, from London to Toronto, these buildings are masterpieces of deception. They are designed by artists to blend perfectly into the local aesthetic. If the street is lined with 19th century brownstones, the fake house will be a brownstone. If the suburb is full of mid-century moderns, the decoy will have the same slanted roof and large windows. It's the uncanny valley of real estate. Everything looks right, but your gut tells you it's wrong. Have you ever walked past a building and felt a strange, inexplicable chill? Or perhaps a sudden, dry warmth on a cold day? These houses are the lungs and the nervous system of the city, hidden in plain sight. They are the ones keeping the lights on and the trains moving while the rest of the world rests. But a house without people is a house without oversight. It's a space where the rules of the surface world don't apply. Why does a ventilation shaft need a front door with a brass knocker? Why does a power station need fake flower boxes on the windows? It's not just about aesthetics. It's about psychological control. If you don't see the machine, you don't fear the machine. But just because you can't see it, doesn't mean it isn't there. Let's go to Brooklyn. Specifically, the heights of Joralemon Street. It's one of the most beautiful blocks in New York. The trees are tall, the air smells of the harbor, and the homes are worth millions. But if you stop at number 58, you'll notice something unsettling. The windows are black. Not just dark, they are opaque. They look like eyes that have had their pupils removed. There is no name on the buzzer. There is no mail in the slot. For years, neighbors told stories about the ghost house of Brooklyn. They thought it was a billionaire's tax shelter or a mob hideout. But the truth is much colder. In 1908, when the New York City subway was expanding, they needed a way to pull the stale, hot air out of the tunnels and pump fresh air in. They needed a massive fan plant. But they couldn't just put an industrial chimney in the middle of a wealthy residential block. So, they bought a Greek Revival townhouse. They gutted it. They ripped out the floors, the fireplaces, and the memories. They turned a home into a hollow chimney. If you were to open that front door today, you wouldn't find a hallway. You would find a sheer drop into a concrete abyss. You would find massive, industrial fans the size of jet engines, spinning with a force that could pull the breath right out of your lungs. It is a monument to the industrial void. A multi-million-dollar shell that exists only to breathe for the commuters 50 feet below. But here is the question that keeps the neighbors awake: if 58 Joralemon is just a fan, why are the maintenance crews that enter the building sometimes seen carrying sidearms? Why is the security on a ventilation shaft higher than the local bank? Is it really just air they are moving through those pipes? Or is there a second, deeper city hidden beneath the tracks, one that uses these fake houses as its only connection to the light? The deeper you go, the more you realize that the city isn't just built on top of the ground. It's built on top of a secret. And sometimes, that secret needs to breathe. If a house is just a shell for a ventilation fan or a water pump, why does it need to be guarded like a nuclear silo? In the neighborhoods of D.C. and Northern Virginia, the house that never sleeps isn't just an infrastructure node. It's a boundary. If you watch these properties long enough, you'll see the maintenance crews arrive. They don't drive white vans with plumbing or HVAC written on the side. They drive tinted SUVs. They wear tactical boots and carry heavy-duty cases. And more often than you'd expect, they are carrying sidearms. Ask yourself, what requires an armed guard in a residential district? Is it the fan? Is it the electricity? Or is it what the house is connected to? Many of these decoy houses are actually the ventilation lungs for massive, underground data centers or COG, continuity of government, bunkers. The house is the only visible part of a sprawling subterranean organism. If that house is compromised, the entire nervous system of the city's intelligence is exposed. The logistics are a masterpiece of bureaucratic ghosting. If you search the local property tax records for these addresses, you won't find an owner. You won't find a history of sales. Often, the property is listed as public utility or held by a shell company with a name like Forsythia Associates or Draper Development. It is a dead property. A legal black hole in the middle of a high-value neighborhood. How does it feel to know that the house next door exists outside the law? That while you are being taxed on every square inch of your land, the government is operating a multi-million-dollar fortress for free, right across the fence. The mechanical mask is perfect because it uses our own psychology against us. We see a front door, and we assume there is a living room behind it. We see a chimney, and we assume there is a hearth. But in these houses, the chimney is an exhaust for diesel generators that kick in when the grid fails. The front door is a steel-reinforced barrier that can withstand a battering ram. The house is a lie that speaks the language of home, but its heart is pure, cold iron. Let's move away from the city centers and into the quiet streets of Raleigh, North Carolina, or the suburbs of Toronto. Here, the deception takes a more dangerous turn. Meet the transformer houses. To the untrained eye, 1352 West 4th Street is just a lovely colonial-style home. It has the correct shutters, a nice porch light, and even a "Beware of Dog" sign in the window. But the dog never barks. The porch light never changes. And if you stand on the sidewalk, you'll hear it, a heavy, vibrating hum that seems to rattle your very teeth. Behind those Georgian bricks are thousands of gallons of cooling oil and massive, high-voltage electrical coils. This is a substation. A node in the power grid that has been domesticated for the sake of the neighborhood's property values. But there is a reason we usually build substations in industrial parks, far away from where children play. Transformers are prone to thermal runaway. When they fail, they don't just stop working, they explode in a geyser of fire and toxic oil. In a traditional substation, there is a clear blast zone. In a transformer house, the blast zone is your bedroom. Imagine waking up to a roar of fire coming from a house that officially doesn't exist. Imagine the firefighters arriving and realizing they can't enter because the house is actually a 110,000-volt death trap. Why was the aesthetic of the street more important than the physical safety of the residents? And then there is the question of the invisible threat. Living next to high-voltage equipment for 20 years means living in a constant electromagnetic field. While the city officials swear it's safe, the people in these neighborhoods often report higher rates of chronic migraines, sleep disorders, and an unshakable sense of unease. Is the house that never sleeps actually making you sick? We trade our awareness for a pretty view. We accept the decoy because it keeps our home values high. But we never stop to consider the cost of living next to a machine that is constantly exhaling radiation and heat. The electric neighbor is a ticking heart. And every heart eventually stops. If this deep dive into the fake world behind your fence is opening your eyes, you're not alone. The archive is growing. Hit the subscribe button and join the Hidden Pulse community to help us uncover what they're hiding in plain sight. As the 1990s gave way to the digital age, these houses began to evolve. They stopped being just lungs and hearts. They started becoming ears. This deception isn't just an American anomaly. It is a global blueprint for urban control. A silent agreement between governments and the elite to keep the gears of the world out of sight and out of mind. Let's cross the Atlantic to London. If you walk through the upscale neighborhood of Bayswater, you'll find 23 and 24 Leinster Gardens. These are stunning, mid-19th century terrace houses with ornate columns and grand front doors. They fit perfectly into the row of multi-million-dollar homes. But if you look closely at the windows, you'll see they are painted on. If you try to peek through the mail slot, you won't see a hallway. You'll see a brick wall just 5 feet behind the door. In the 1860s, when the world's first underground railway was being built, the steam engines needed ventilation pits to prevent the passengers from suffocating. But the wealthy residents of Bayswater didn't want a gaping, soot-filled hole ruining their view. So, the railway company built a 5-foot-thick theatrical prop. They built a facade. It is the ultimate stage magic on a city scale. It proves that for over 150 years, the aesthetic comfort of the upper class has been more important than the transparency of the infrastructure. From the phantom chimneys of Paris that hide massive industrial vents to the dummy buildings of Berlin used to disguise secret police monitoring stations. The house that never sleeps is a worldwide phenomenon. It is a testament to the fact that our modern world is a fragile layer of beauty built over a massive, roaring machine. Why are we so willing to accept the facade? Is it because we truly believe in the beauty, or because we are too afraid to look at the machine underneath? As we enter the 21st century, the house that never sleeps has evolved. It's no longer just moving air or electricity. It's moving data. In the suburbs surrounding Washington, D.C., and in tech hubs like Seattle and San Jose, a new kind of fake house has appeared. These aren't ventilation shafts or power stations. They are signal intelligence nodes. Imagine a house on your street that is filled from floor to ceiling with high-density servers and stingray devices. Technology that can mimic cell towers to intercept your phone calls, text messages, and Wi-Fi data. To the outside world, it's just another house with a "for sale" sign that never goes away. Or a rental that always seems to have a new tenant who never brings in any furniture. But inside, the air is freezing, cooled by industrial-grade HVAC systems to keep the processors from melting. While you are sitting in your living room, scrolling through your feed, the house next door is inhaling your digital life. It is a vacuum of information, a black hole for privacy, hidden behind a coat of beige siding and a neatly trimmed hedge. Why would the government go through the trouble of building a fake house when they could just use a van? Because a van is temporary. A house is a permanent, legal foothold. It's a safe house for the machines of the surveillance state. This is the ultimate betrayal of the suburban dream. We moved to the suburbs for peace, for privacy, and for the security of a good neighborhood. But the system used that very desire for privacy to build a fortress of observation right in our midst. How many of your secrets have already been swallowed by the walls of the house that never sleeps? The deception is no longer just about hiding the noise of the city, it is about hiding the eyes of the state. But here is the final, chilling truth. The era of the fake house is coming to an end. Not because the government is becoming more transparent, but because they don't need to build fake houses anymore. Why spend millions on real estate, fake bricks, and maintenance crews, when they have already moved into yours? Every smart doorbell, every intelligent speaker, and every connected camera in your home is a node in a network. It makes 58 Joralemon Street look like a relic of the Stone Age. We have voluntarily turned our homes into the house that never sleeps. We have invited the hum into our bedrooms. We have put the blacked-out windows in our own pockets. The suburban deception has reached its final stage. The mask is no longer on the house next door. The mask is the one we wear every time we trade our privacy for a little bit of smart convenience. The Digital Casper doesn't need a white picket fence to hide. It's already in your Wi-Fi. It's already in your palm. Next time you walk past that quiet, perfect house on the corner, don't just wonder what's inside. Turn around and look at your own home. Is it breathing? Is it humming? Is it watching? The truth is, the house that never sleeps is yours. If you've made it this far, you're now part of a growing archive of people who refuse to look away. The truth is a heavy burden, but it's the only thing that keeps us free. Subscribe to Hidden Pulse and help us keep the signal alive. The file on the houses that never sleeps is now closed. But the city is still breathing. And so are the lies. I'm your host for Hidden Pulse. Stay sharp. Watch the windows. And never trust a house that doesn't have a soul.